My wife, accidentally, locked her keys in a stranger's car at 2 a.m. 3 minutes after I arrived to help her, that stranger walked out of the gas station convenience store, saw us standing by his vehicle, and called the police. 5 minutes after that, I understood why my marriage had felt wrong for the past 6 months. 10 minutes after that, I realized my wife had been trying to destroy my life. I was standing in the parking lot of a Shell station off Interstate 35 in the middle of nowhere, watching my wife Vanessa sob into her hands while a man in a black jacket yelled at us. The fluorescent lights overhead buzzed and flickered, casting everything in a sickly yellow glow. My hands were shaking, but not from the cold October air. They were shaking because something about this entire situation felt choreographed, rehearsed, wrong. "I'm so sorry," Vanessa kept saying to the man. "I thought it was our car. They look exactly the same. Please, I just need my keys back. They're on the front seat." The man was mid-50s, stocky build, wearing work boots caked with dried mud. He pulled out his phone. "I'm calling the cops. You don't just accidentally unlock someone else's car and leave your keys inside. That's not how this works." "It was an accident," she insisted, her voice rising in pitch. "David, tell him. Tell him it was an accident." I looked at our car, parked 3 spaces away, a silver Nissan Altima, 2019 model. Then I looked at the stranger's car, where Vanessa claimed she'd locked her keys, a black Chevy Malibu, 2016 model, different make, different color, different everything. They looked nothing alike. "Vanessa," I said slowly, "how did you even open his car?" She blinked at me. For just a second, her expression went blank. Then the tears returned, harder than before. "I don't know. The door was unlocked and I was so tired, and I just thought it was ours. You know how exhausted I've been with the new job. I'd been married to Vanessa Blackwood for 8 years. We'd met in graduate school, both studying psychology, both ambitious and driven. She was beautiful in a way that made people pause. Dark hair, sharp features, the kind of intelligence that radiated from her eyes. We'd built a life in Austin where I worked as a clinical psychologist in private practice, and she'd recently taken a position as director of research at a pharmaceutical consulting firm. The new job had her traveling constantly, coming home late, working weekends. I'd supported it all because I loved her and I believed in her career. But standing in that gas station parking lot at 2:17 a.m., watching her performance for this stranger, I realized I didn't recognize the woman in front of me. The police arrived 8 minutes later. 2 officers and a Travis County Sheriff's cruiser. The older one was a woman with gray hair pulled back in a tight bun. Her nameplate read, Deputy K. Lawson. The younger officer stayed by the car, hand resting casually near his belt. "Someone want to tell me what's going on here?" Deputy Lawson asked. The stranger spoke first, his voice still angry, but more controlled now. "I came out of the store and found these 2 standing by my car. She says she accidentally locked her keys inside my vehicle. That doesn't make any sense." Lawson turned to Vanessa. "Is that what happened, ma'am?" Vanessa nodded, wiping her eyes. "I'm so embarrassed. I thought it was our car. I must have left it unlocked, and I put my keys on the seat and closed the door, and then it locked automatically. I know how this sounds, but I swear it was an accident." "Your car is the silver Nissan?" Lawson pointed. "Yes. And you thought a black Chevy was your silver Nissan?" Silence. I watched Vanessa's throat work as she swallowed. "It's dark. I was distracted. I got a work call right before I pulled in here, and I was on my phone, and I just wasn't paying attention." Lawson looked at me. "And you are?" "David Thornton, her husband. She called me about 15 minutes ago. Said she was stranded and needed help." "Where were you coming from?" "Home. We live in Austin, about 30 miles south." "And she was?" I hesitated. "I don't actually know." "Vanessa, where were you coming from?" Another beat of silence. "I was driving back from San Antonio. I had dinner with a potential client." "At 2 a.m.? Lawson's eyebrow raised. "It ran late. We were discussing a research contract. It's complicated." Lawson walked over to the black Malibu and peered through the window with her flashlight. "I can see keys on the front seat. Are those yours, ma'am?" "Yes." "What kind of keys?" "Car key, house key, office key. They're on a blue lanyard." Lawson's beam settled on something inside the car. "I see keys on a blue lanyard. I also see a purse. Is that yours?" Vanessa froze. "Yes." "So you left your keys and your purse in a stranger's car?" "I must have put my purse down when I was on the phone, and then I grabbed the wrong door when I got out and—" "Ma'am, that doesn't make sense." Lawson's voice was professional but firm. "You're telling me you got into this man's car, sat down, put your purse and keys inside, then got out and somehow thought you were getting out of your own vehicle?" I felt my stomach drop, because Deputy Lawson was right. It made no sense. None of it made any sense. The stranger, whose name turned out to be Gerald Simmons, agreed to unlock his car so Vanessa could retrieve her belongings. Lawson supervised while Vanessa grabbed her keys and purse from the front seat. I watched carefully. The purse was expensive Prada, one I'd bought her for our anniversary last year. The keys were indeed on a blue lanyard from her company, but there was something else on the seat. A folder, cream-colored, unmarked. Vanessa reached for it. "What's that?" Lawson asked. "Just work documents." "In his car?" I must have been carrying them when I got confused. Lawson held out her hand. "Let me see. These are confidential client materials. I can't just— Ma'am, you're claiming you accidentally entered and exited someone else's vehicle while leaving personal property inside. I need to verify your story. I can get a warrant if necessary, but that's going to take us down to the station and make this a much longer night for everyone. Vanessa's hands clenched around the folder. I saw her knuckles go white. Then, slowly, she handed it over. Lawson opened it. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her eyes narrow as she scanned the first page, then the second. She looked at Gerald Simmons. Sir, have you ever seen this woman before tonight? Never. You're certain? Absolutely certain. Lawson closed the folder and looked at me. Mr. Thornton, I'm going to need you to step over here with me for a moment. We walked 10 feet away, out of earshot. My heart was hammering so hard I could feel it in my throat. Your wife is lying, Lawson said quietly. What? I don't know about what yet, but she's lying. The documents in that folder are insurance claim forms. Medical insurance, to be specific. They're partially filled out for someone named David Thornton, listing injuries from a car accident that allegedly occurred 3 weeks ago. Whiplash, lower back trauma, potential disc herniation. There's a doctor's signature on a preliminary assessment form. Were you in a car accident 3 weeks ago? The world tilted sideways. No. Are you sure? I'm absolutely sure. I haven't been in any accident. Lawson studied my face. The claim form lists a payout estimate of $180,000 from your auto insurance policy and another $220,000 from the other driver's policy. Total, $400. 000. Your wife works in pharmaceutical consulting. That's the industry that handles a lot of medical claim processing and review. She'd know exactly how to structure a claim to maximize payout. I couldn't breathe. You're saying she's trying to commit insurance fraud? I'm saying those documents suggest someone is, and they were in her possession, in a car that doesn't belong to her, at 2 a.m., 30 miles from your home. Lawson paused. Mr. Thornton, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest. Has your wife been acting strangely lately? Different behavior? Unexplained absences? Secretive phone calls? I thought about the past 6 months. The new job that kept her away 3 or 4 nights a week. The password changes on her phone and laptop. The way she'd started showering immediately when she got home, even if it was 11 p.m. The credit card statements with charges I didn't recognize. The way she'd stopped looking at me during conversations. Yes, I whispered. Lawson nodded. I'm going to need to take this folder as evidence. I'm also going to need both of you to come down to the station to give formal statements. This situation requires investigation. That's when Vanessa ran. Not far, just to our Nissan. She jumped in the driver's side and I heard the engine roar to life. Deputy Lawson shouted something, and the younger officer sprinted toward the car, but Vanessa was already reversing, tires squealing on the pavement. She made it about 30 yards before a third sheriff's cruiser, one I hadn't noticed arriving, pulled across the parking lot exit and blocked her path. 2 more officers emerged, weapons drawn but pointed down. Vanessa sat in the Nissan, engine running, going nowhere. I stood there, frozen, watching my wife trapped like an animal. And I understood with perfect horrible clarity that I'd been living with a stranger for months, maybe longer, and I'd been too blind, too trusting, too in love to see it. Deputy Lawson touched my arm. Mr. Thornton, I think you should call a lawyer, and I think you should do it right now. The Travis County Sheriff's Station was a low brick building that smelled like burnt coffee and industrial cleaner. They separated Vanessa and me immediately, putting us in different interview rooms. Mine was small, windowless, with a metal table bolted to the floor and chairs that were designed to be uncomfortable. I sat there for 20 minutes before Deputy Lawson returned with a man in plain clothes. Mr. Thornton, this is Detective Raymond Oakes. He's with our Financial Crimes Unit. He'd like to ask you some questions. Detective Oakes was early 50s, black, with close-cropped gray hair and the kind of steady gaze that made you feel like he could see through walls. He carried a thick folder and a digital recorder. Mr. Thornton, you're not under arrest. You're free to leave at any time. But I'm hoping you'll talk to us because I believe you're a victim here, not a perpetrator. Do you understand? Yes. Good. He set the recorder on the table and pressed record. Let's start with the basics. Tell me about your relationship with your wife. So I did. I told him about meeting Vanessa in graduate school, about our wedding in Hill Country Wine Country, about building our careers and our life. I told him about the changes over the past 6 months, the distance, the secrecy. I told him I'd thought it was just stress from her new job. Did you know she was planning to file a fraudulent insurance claim in your name? Oakes asked. I had no idea. I didn't even know about any claim at all. Oakes opened his folder and spread out several documents on the table. These are photocopies of what was in the folder your wife had tonight. Insurance claim forms, medical records, accident reports, all documenting an accident that allegedly happened on September 28th at the intersection of Highway 290 and Ranch Road 12. You were supposedly driving to a client appointment when another vehicle ran a red light and T-boned your car. You sustained multiple injuries. Your car was totaled. The other driver accepted full fault. I stared at the documents. They looked official, legitimate. Doctor's letterhead, insurance company logos, case numbers, claim reference codes. Everything was filled out in meticulous detail. I was never in this accident, I said. On September 28th, I was in my office all day. I had back-to-back sessions from 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. I can show you my calendar, my appointment logs. I have session notes for every client I saw that day. I believe you, Oakes said. But here's where it gets complicated. Someone has been building this claim for 3 weeks. They've filed preliminary paperwork with your insurance company, State Farm, and with the other driver's carrier nationwide. They've submitted medical documentation to 3 different doctors' offices. They've communicated with insurance adjusters via email and phone, and they've done it all using your identity. How is that possible? Your wife would have access to everything she'd need. Your social security number, your driver's license information, your insurance policy details. She works in pharmaceutical consulting, which means she understands medical billing and claims processing inside and out. She'd know exactly how to fabricate documentation that looks legitimate. I felt sick. But who's the doctor who signed these forms? Oakes pulled out another sheet. Dr. Nathan Garrett, orthopedic surgeon, practices out of a clinic in San Marcos. We called him about an hour ago. He says he's never treated anyone named David Thornton. He's also never signed these documents. The signature is forged. Jesus. There's more. Oakes pulled out his phone and turned it to face me. On the screen was a surveillance photo from what looked like a gas station security camera. The image showed Vanessa standing next to the black Malibu, talking to someone inside. The timestamp read 1:51 a.m., 26 minutes before I'd arrived. That's the same gas station from tonight, I said. Correct. Your wife arrived at 1:48 a.m. She met with Gerald Simmons, the owner of that Malibu, for approximately 12 minutes. They talked. She gave him something, looks like an envelope. Then he went inside the convenience store. She waited by his car. That's when she called you. So this was planned? She was meeting him? It appears so. We're currently interviewing Mr. Simmons now. My suspicion is he's part of this scheme, possibly playing the role of the other driver in your supposed accident. But something went wrong tonight. She called you for help, which suggests the plan went sideways somehow. I tried to process this. Why would she call me if she was trying to commit fraud against me? That, Oakes said, is an excellent question. One theory. She needed you there as part of the setup. Maybe the plan was to have you witness her accidentally, leaving evidence in someone's car, establishing some kind of plausible deniability or creating confusion about who was responsible. Another theory. Whoever she's working with double-crossed her, and she panicked. Working with? Oakes leaned back in his chair. Mr. Thornton, your wife didn't dream this up alone. This kind of fraud requires multiple people. Someone to play the other driver, someone to forge medical documents, someone to handle communications with insurance companies. This is organized, and it's not her first time. My hands went numb. What do you mean? He pulled out another document, this one older, printed on different paper. 6 years ago, before she married you, Vanessa Blackwood was investigated by the California Department of Insurance for suspected involvement in a staged accident scheme in Los Angeles. 3 people filed claims for an accident that never happened, trying to collect a combined $600,000. The case fell apart when one of the participants confessed, but your wife was never charged. She was listed as a person of interest, but prosecutors couldn't prove her direct involvement. I never knew about this. She probably didn't want you to know. After the investigation closed, she moved to Austin, changed careers from insurance adjusting to pharmaceutical consulting, and started fresh. Clean slate. Oakes looked at me with something that might have been sympathy. You seem like a good man, Mr. Thornton. Successful practice, solid reputation. I pulled your background while we were waiting. No criminal record, no civil judgments, nothing. You're exactly the kind of person someone like your wife would target. Target? For credibility, for access to clean identity documents, for a legitimate cover story, and for money. Your practice does well financially, doesn't it? I nodded numbly. I have 12 therapists working under me. We bill about $2 million annually in services. And your wife has access to your business accounts? She's on my personal accounts, not the business ones. Are you sure? I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure of anything anymore. Oakes let me sit with that for a moment. Then he said, I need to show you something else. This one's hard. He pulled out his phone again and played a video. The footage was from a security camera, different angle, same gas station. It showed Vanessa talking to Gerald Simmons by his car, but this time, the audio was clear. Already in place, Vanessa's voice said. The preliminary claim has been filed. Once he signs the settlement agreement, we split everything 50-50. You get $200,000, I get $200,000, clean and untraceable. And he'll sign it? Simmons asked. He trusts me completely. He'll sign anything I put in front of him. The man doesn't even read his own credit card statements. Simmons laughed. What about after? When he realizes what happened? By then, we'll be long gone. I'll file for divorce, claim he was abusive, get a restraining order so he can't contact me during proceedings. His reputation will be destroyed, his practice will suffer, and he'll be too busy defending himself to come after the money. It's perfect. I stopped hearing anything after that. The room tilted, and I thought I might throw up. Oakes stopped the video. I'm sorry you had to hear that. How did you get this? Gerald Simmons was wearing a wire. He came to us 3 days ago and offered to cooperate in exchange for immunity. He got scared, said your wife was planning something bigger than he'd signed up for, and he wanted out before it went federal. He was working with you? Tonight was a sting? Partially. We knew they were meeting, but we didn't know exactly what she was planning to hand off. The folder with the insurance documents was more evidence than we expected. And we definitely didn't expect her to call you to the scene. That complicated things. I stared at the table. 8 years of marriage. 8 years of trusting her, building a life with her, believing in her. And all of it was a con. All of it was a performance so she could steal from me and destroy me and walk away rich. What happens now? I asked. Now we arrest your wife for insurance fraud, identity theft, conspiracy to commit fraud, and forgery. The DA's office will file formal charges tomorrow. Given her prior investigation in California and the evidence we have on tape, she's looking at serious prison time, 5 to 10 years minimum. And the money? Did she already steal any? Oakes shook his head. Not yet. The insurance companies hadn't paid out. We stopped this before any funds were transferred. Your identity is safe, your credit is intact, your finances are protected. Simmons cooperating when he did saved you from real damage. I should have felt relieved. Instead, I just felt hollow. Can I ask you something? I said. Of course. Did she ever love me? Even in the beginning? Oakes met my eyes. I don't know, Mr. Thornton. People like your wife are very good at pretending. They have to be, or they'd never get away with what they do. Whether any of it was real, that's something only she can answer. And even then, I wouldn't trust what she tells you. They kept me at the station for another 3 hours, taking my formal statement, documenting everything I knew about Vanessa's recent behavior, compiling evidence for the prosecution. I called my attorney, Marcus Levine, who specialized in family law. He arrived at 5 a.m., still in sweatpants and a jacket, looking exhausted but alert. David, he said, shaking my hand. What the hell is going on? I told him everything. He listened without interrupting, taking notes on a legal pad. When I finished, he sat back and rubbed his eyes. Okay, first priority, we file for divorce immediately, tomorrow morning. We cite fraud and deception as grounds. We also file for a restraining order preventing her from accessing any of your accounts, any jointly held property, anything. We freeze everything. Can we do that? Given that she's been arrested for crimes involving fraud against you? Absolutely. Any judge will grant it. Second priority, we get you a forensic accountant to go through every financial transaction from the past 2 years. If she's been stealing from you or running other scams, we need to find it now. I don't think she took money directly. I would have noticed. Maybe. But people like this are patient. They set up long cons. She might have credit cards in your name you don't know about, loans, accounts. We need to check everything. Detective Oakes came back into the room. Mr. Thornton, your wife is asking to speak with you. Absolutely not, Marcus said immediately. She says she wants to explain. I don't care what she wants. My client is not speaking to her without supervision, and honestly, I'm recommending he doesn't speak to her at all. Anything she says is either manipulation or self-serving. There's no benefit, but I wanted to hear it. I wanted to look her in the eyes and hear what possible explanation she could give for trying to destroy my life. I'll talk to her, I said. David, I need to do this, Marcus. He sighed. Fine, but I'm there with you, and we're recording everything. They brought us to a different room, larger, with a table between 2 sets of chairs. Vanessa was already there, her hands cuffed in front of her, her mascara smeared from crying. She looked small, diminished, nothing like the confident woman I'd married. When she saw me, fresh tears started. David, thank God. You have to listen to me. This isn't what it looks like. I sat down across from her. Marcus stood behind me. Detective Oakes leaned against the wall. Then what is it, Vanessa? I was trying to protect you. The laugh that came out of me was harsh, bitter. Protect me? By filing a fraudulent insurance claim in my name? That wasn't supposed to happen. Gerald went rogue. He was supposed to be helping me investigate insurance fraud at my company, but he twisted everything. He forced me to bring those documents tonight. He said if I didn't, he'd claim I was the one running the scam. Stop, I said. Just stop. I heard the recording, Vanessa. I heard you talking about how easy it would be to manipulate me, how you'd destroy my reputation, how you planned to take the money and disappear. That wasn't Gerald forcing you. That was you. Her expression changed. The tears stopped, and for just a second, I saw something cold and calculating in her eyes, something I'd never seen before. Then it was gone, replaced by desperation. That recording is fake. They manipulated it. David, you know me. You know I would never hurt you. I don't know you, I said quietly. I thought I did, but I don't. I don't know who you are at all. We've been married for 8 years. You were investigated for insurance fraud in California 6 years ago. Before we met, you never told me. She went very still. You moved to Austin to start over, and you found me. A successful therapist with a clean record and a trusting nature. I was perfect, wasn't I? The ideal mark. No, David, no. I love you. How much of the marriage was real? Any of it? She didn't answer. I stood up. I'm filing for divorce. You'll be served with papers as soon as you're arraigned. I never want to see you again. David, please. We're done. I walked out of that room and didn't look back. The next 6 weeks were a blur of legal proceedings, therapy sessions, and trying to piece together the truth. The forensic accountant Marcus hired, a woman named Dr. Lisa Brennan, found evidence that Vanessa had been siphoning money from our joint accounts for 18 months. Small amounts, $200 here, $500 there, always under the threshold that would trigger alerts. She'd accumulated nearly $43,000 in a separate account I knew nothing about. She'd also taken out 3 credit cards in my name without my knowledge, running up $28,000 in debt that I only discovered when Marcus pulled my full credit report. The cards had been sent to a P.O. box Vanessa rented under a fake name. She's a professional, Doctor, Brennan told me in her office overlooking downtown Austin. This is textbook long con behavior. Establish trust, slowly integrate into the victim's life, gain access to everything, and then systematically exploit it while maintaining the cover relationship. Why not just divorce me and take half? I asked. We live in a community property state. She'd get a substantial settlement. Because half wasn't enough. With the insurance fraud, she was going for $400,000 plus whatever she could drain from accounts before you noticed. And by destroying your reputation with abuse allegations during the divorce, she'd position herself as the victim, which could impact settlement negotiations in her favor. Plus, with you defending against criminal charges, you'd be less able to focus on protecting your assets. She thought of everything. Not quite. She didn't account for Gerald Simmons getting cold feet, and she underestimated law enforcement. Detective Oakes has been building this case very carefully. The trial began in January. The prosecution was led by Assistant District Attorney Catherine Morse, a veteran prosecutor with 15 years of experience in financial crimes. She was methodical, precise, devastating. The evidence against Vanessa was overwhelming. The surveillance footage of her discussing the fraud with Simmons, the forged medical documents, the fake accident reports, the credit cards, the siphoned money. Gerald Simmons testified in exchange for a plea deal, describing in detail how Vanessa had approached him 9 months earlier with a plan to stage an accident and split the insurance payout. She said she'd done it before, Simmons told the court. In California, with her previous husband. Said she walked away with $300,000 and he never knew what hit him. I felt my blood run cold. Previous husband. She'd told me I was her first marriage. During cross-examination, Vanessa's defense attorney, a sharp woman named Rebecca Flores, tried to paint her as a victim of coercion, claiming Simmons had manipulated her, but the recordings were too clear, too damning. Vanessa's own words convicted her. When Vanessa took the stand in her own defense, she tried the tears again, told the jury she'd been desperate, that I'd been controlling and abusive, that she'd felt trapped and had made terrible decisions out of fear. A D.A. Morse destroyed her on cross. Mrs. Thornton, you claim your husband was abusive. Did you ever file a police report? No. Did you ever seek medical treatment for injuries? No. Did you ever tell a therapist, a friend, a family member? I was too scared. But you weren't too scared to plan an elaborate insurance fraud scheme? To forge documents, to steal money, to coordinate with a criminal accomplice? Vanessa had no answer. Mrs. Thornton, on the surveillance recording, you said your husband trusts you completely and doesn't even read his own credit card statements. Does that sound like a controlling, abusive person? Silence. You also said you planned to file for divorce, claim he was abusive, get a restraining order as part of your scheme, meaning the abuse allegations were always part of the plan, weren't they? A way to manipulate the legal system and destroy your husband's reputation? I didn't mean... You didn't mean to get caught. That's the only thing you didn't mean. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. Guilty on all counts. Sentencing came 2 weeks later. Judge Amanda Cross, who'd presided over the trial with stern efficiency, looked at Vanessa with open disgust. Mrs. Thornton, you systematically exploited a position of trust to defraud your husband, to defraud insurance companies, and to manipulate the legal system. You forged documents, you committed identity theft, you conspired to commit crimes, and when caught, you attempted to portray yourself as a victim. Your actions demonstrate a complete lack of remorse and a pattern of predatory behavior. I am sentencing you to 12 years in state prison. You will be eligible for parole after serving 8 years. Additionally, you are ordered to pay full restitution to your husband for all stolen funds, fraudulent debts, and legal expenses incurred in defending against your schemes. Bailiff, remove the defendant. Vanessa's composure finally cracked completely. She screamed as they led her away, insisting it wasn't fair, that I'd set her up, that everyone had conspired against her. Her voice echoed through the courtroom until the doors closed behind her. I sat there feeling nothing. No satisfaction, no relief, just emptiness. Marcus put a hand on my shoulder. It's over, David. You can move on now. But moving on was harder than it sounded. I spent the next year rebuilding. I changed all my passwords, closed all joint accounts, worked with Dr. Brennan to untangle every financial thread Vanessa had woven through my life. I sold the house we'd shared and bought a smaller place in a different neighborhood, somewhere without memories. My practice suffered initially. Some clients left when news of the trial became public, uncomfortable with the drama, but most stayed, and new ones came. My colleagues rallied around me. My business partner, Dr. Alicia Grant, helped manage operations while I took time to recover. You're allowed to fall apart a little, she told me over coffee one afternoon. You don't have to be strong all the time. If I fall apart, I don't know if I'll be able to put myself back together. That's what therapy is for. You spend all day helping other people process trauma. Let someone help you. So I started seeing Dr. Raymond Chen, a colleague who specialized in betrayal trauma and complex PTSD. Twice a week, I sat in his office and unpacked 8 years of lies. The hardest part, I told him during one session, is not knowing what was real. Did she ever care about me at all? Or was every moment, every conversation, every intimate moment just part of the con? Does it matter? He asked gently. Of course it matters. Why? I thought about it. Because if any of it was real, then I didn't completely waste 8 years of my life. If some part of her actually loved me, then I wasn't just a fool. David, whether she loved you or not, doesn't change the value of your experience. You loved her. You were genuine. You built a life based on trust and commitment. The fact that she couldn't reciprocate doesn't diminish what you brought to the relationship. It just means you deserved better than what you got. It took months before that started to feel true. 18 months after Vanessa's conviction, I was sitting in my office between sessions when my receptionist buzzed. Dr. Thornton, there's a Detective Oakes here to see you. He says it's important. I hadn't spoken to Oakes since the trial. My stomach tightened. He came in looking the same as I remembered. Steady, professional, carrying a folder. Mr. Thornton, thanks for seeing me. Is something wrong? Is Vanessa still in prison, serving her sentence? This is about something else. He sat down across from me. We've been investigating your ex-wife's activities before she met you. What we've found is extensive. He opened the folder. Inside were photographs, documents, arrest records. Vanessa Blackwood isn't her real name. She was born Claire Hastings in Portland, Oregon 41 years ago. She's been running cons since she was 19. Identity theft, insurance fraud, romance scams. She's had at least 7 different names we can confirm, and possibly more. He laid out photos of Vanessa with different men, different hair colors, different styles, but unmistakably her. This is Stephen Koslow. Married her in 2008 under the name Jessica Raymond. She stole $220,000 from him and disappeared. This is Thomas Albertson. Married her in 2011 as Natalie Price. She took $180,000 and vanished. This is Andrew Chen. Married in 2014 as Rebecca Winters. She got $300,000 from an insurance fraud scheme, exactly what Gerald Simmons testified about. There were 4 more photos, 4 more men, 4 more names, millions of dollars stolen. She's done this at least 8 times that we can prove, Oakes said. You're number 8, David, and you're the first one who ever caught her. I stared at the photographs. All these men who looked like me, professional, successful, trusting, all of them destroyed by the same woman wearing a different face. Why are you telling me this? Because the FBI is building a federal case. Interstate fraud, wire fraud, money laundering. They want to interview you about your experience, compile it with the others. If we can connect all these cases, she's looking at an additional 20 to 30 years federal time on top of her state sentence. She'd die in prison. Yes, she would. I should have felt vengeful. Instead, I just felt tired. What do you need from me? Your testimony, your documentation, everything you experienced. The FBI agent handling the case is Special Agent Jennifer Kovach. She'll contact you next week to schedule an interview. I agreed. What else could I do? The federal investigation took another year. Special Agent Kovach was thorough, relentless, brilliant. She tracked down every victim, every scheme, every dollar Vanessa had stolen over 22 years of crime. The case file eventually totaled over 3,000 pages. The federal trial was held in Dallas. All 8 victims were there, sitting in the gallery. We'd formed a strange support group, bonded by shared trauma. Stephen Koslow, the first victim, was now 63, his life savings gone, still working as a grocery store manager because he couldn't afford to retire. Thomas Albertson had lost his business and his home. Andrew Chen had attempted suicide twice. We sat together and watched Vanessa, now 43, looking older and harder, as the evidence mounted against her. The federal prosecutor, Alan Whitmore, presented 22 years of systematic fraud, bank records, forged documents, surveillance footage, victim testimony. When the verdict came back, guilty on 38 federal counts, Vanessa showed no emotion. She'd finally stopped pretending. Judge Harold Stevens gave her 35 years federal time to be served consecutively with her state sentence. She'd be 88 years old before she'd be eligible for release. You are, Judge Stevens said, one of the most prolific and destructive con artists this court has seen. You have ruined lives, destroyed families, and shown absolutely no remorse. Society will be safer with you removed from it for the rest of your natural life. As they led her away, Vanessa looked at me. Our eyes met, and she smiled. Not a warm smile, not a sad smile, a predator's smile. The smile of someone who'd enjoyed every moment of what she'd done and would do it again if given the chance. I looked away. After the trial, the 8 of us, the victims, went to dinner. We sat in a steakhouse in Dallas and talked about our experiences, our recovery, our futures. I'll never trust anyone again, Stephen Koslow said. She destroyed that part of me. That's what she wants, Thomas Albertson replied. For us to be as broken as she is. I refuse to give her that. Andrew Chen raised his glass. To surviving, to recovering, to refusing to let her win. We drank to that, too. 3 years after the gas station incident, I was in a better place. My practice had grown. I'd published a book about betrayal, trauma, and recovery that became a bestseller. I'd started dating again, carefully, slowly, with eyes wide open. Her name was Dr. Rachel Lynn, a colleague, pediatric oncologist, smart and kind and real. We'd been seeing each other for 6 months when she asked me directly, "Are you going to be able to trust me? Ever? Because I need to know if this relationship has a future." I thought about it. Really thought about it. "I don't know," I admitted. "I'm trying. Every day I'm trying." "That's fair," she said. "Just keep trying. I'll wait." And she did. 1 year later, we were engaged. 2 years after that, we were married in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Marcus Levine was my best man. Detective Oakes came as a guest. Dr. Raymond Chen, my therapist, attended with his wife. During the reception, Oakes pulled me aside. "You did good, David. Your father would be proud." I never talk about my father. I know. But I did some research after we first met. He was a good man. Military, decorated veteran, raised you alone after your mother died. Taught you to trust people, to believe in goodness. That's not something to be ashamed of. It almost destroyed me. But it didn't. You survived. You healed. You found real love. That's not weakness, David. That's strength. I looked across the room at Rachel, laughing with her sister, radiant in her wedding dress. "Yeah," I said. "I guess it is." 5 years after everything, I received a letter. Prison stationery. Vanessa's handwriting. I almost threw it away unopened. But curiosity won. "David, I know you probably don't want to hear from me, but I needed to tell you something. You were different from the others. With the other men, it was always just business. Easy marks, easy money, no emotion. But with you, something shifted. I actually started to care. Not enough to stop, not enough to walk away, but enough that it bothered me. That's why I made mistakes. Why I got sloppy. Part of me wanted to get caught because I couldn't handle what I was feeling. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I know what I did. I know what I am. But I wanted you to know that out of everyone I destroyed, you were the only one who made me feel something real. For what it's worth. V. I read it twice. Then I folded it, put it in my desk drawer, and went home to my wife. Some questions don't need answers. Some closure doesn't need to be claimed. Some people just need to disappear into the consequences they created, while you live the life they tried to steal. 10 years after the gas station, I was sitting in my office when my phone rang. Unknown number. "Dr. Thornton?" "Yes? This is Lieutenant Carla Mendez with the Texas Department of Criminal Justice. I'm calling to inform you that Vanessa Blackwood, federal inmate number 48392-019, died this morning at the Federal Medical Center in Fort Worth. Pancreatic cancer. She was 53 years old." I sat there, phone in hand, feeling nothing. "Dr. Thornton? I'm here. Thank you for letting me know. She left instructions that you be notified. No other messages." I hung up. That night, I told Rachel. We were sitting on our back porch, watching our daughter play in the yard. She was 5, beautiful, perfect. "How do you feel?" Rachel asked. "I don't know. I thought I'd feel relieved, or vindicated, or something. And you don't?" "I just feel sad, for all the lives she destroyed, including her own. She could have been anything, done anything. Instead, she chose to be a predator. What a waste." Rachel took my hand. "You're a better person than I am. I'm glad she's gone." "Me too," I admitted. "But I'm also sad about it. Does that make sense? You're a therapist. Everything makes sense to you." I laughed. "I wish." That night, after everyone was asleep, I took Vanessa's letter out of my desk drawer, the one she'd sent years ago. I read it one final time. Then I walked outside and burned it in our fire pit, watching the paper curl and blacken and turn to ash. Some stories need endings. Some ghosts need to be released. Some chapters need to close so new ones can begin. And as I stood there, watching the smoke rise into the dark Texas sky, I realized I was finally, completely, totally free. The woman who'd tried to destroy me at a gas station at 2 a.m. was gone, and the life I'd built after her was real, solid, earned. She'd tried to steal my identity, my money, my future. Instead, I'd taken back everything she'd tried to claim. I'd survived. I'd healed. I'd loved again. And that was the best revenge I could have ever asked for. Thanks for watching till the end. Make sure to subscribe and like to not miss the next story.